go back through and make sure I'm at least doing somewhat of my job. And we'll see how much the adults attain. Besides that, I really don't want to see the adults get beat by the kids again. It'd be embarrassing on my front at that point. So we're gonna back up to week 1 and go from there.
They're so good at memorizing.
Yeah, I think that says something about the rest of us, but we won't. At least me anyway. I know I'm not any good at it. Week 1 card went, and I really haven't went as far as card to card either, so we'll go from card to card this evening, bounce our way down through this. And Kathy's got the first verses.
The clock he's looking at must have been wrong.
Well, I figured you're just getting old and can't walk very fast.
I figured you had to park it on the square and walk over. Well, the clock over there said park until 7.
Well, they're only half hour late. All right. Card 1 had the question of define a parable. Earthly story of the heavenly meaning. So you guys got this. You know.
That one.
How many parables did Jesus teach? Over 35. Yep. What's the smallest seed? Okay. What does it become?
Big tree.
Becomes a big tree, right? And we read that where?
In the Bible.
Oh, ouch. Ouch. Yes, it's Matthew 13, 31 and 32. So I don't have any good questions to ask anybody. Everybody can just boom, boom, boom. Now I'm going to ask you a question: how is the church like a seed, or how are we like a seed? I guess to me, I kind of applied it to myself.
Well, when you're first baptized, you're a babe, and hopefully over your life, you grow spiritually into a tree.
A tree, right? To me, it's you start small, and we're in the church, out of the church. Any knowledge you have, you always start smaller. You don't get the full knowledge of everything right on the front end. We start small and we gain size, we get bigger. All right. So evidently, you guys did a better job of listening than I did teaching. Excuse me. I should eat a lot before I come. What makes bread rise?
Lust.
Okay. How is the church likened to leaven?
Hopefully it grows. Yes.
It grows. What's it grow to do?
Phil's there. Phil there.
Okay, I couldn't tell where the sound come. My ears are still, ringing from last weekend, so I don't. I'm tone deaf and I'm standing in a hole. We fill the whole earth with the word, and it should come and make us grow, right? We should expand our knowledge. We should gain knowledge. All right. Week 2 found us in, let's see. There, I'll see how that word is. Found in a field. What a guy find in the field. Let's go that route. Maybe I can do this. This side of the room's quiet tonight.
Hidden treasure.
Hidden treasure, correct. Well, I got one. If you just move over there, the rest of them would be quiet. And then I can give them a bad time and I won't get any glare. And that was found in Matthew 13, 44. What was the cost of the field? All he had. See, if I get talking, I get him to talk. It was everything he had. All right. And that being so, and he found it in a field because at that time, they didn't have you couldn't go down to the local bank and lock stuff up, or put it in the savings account, put it somewhere where you had it firmly locked up. They took things and went out and buried them. And if you think about it, this guy stumbled upon it in the field. Do you remove it at that time? He left it hidden, right? No one knew. He went and bought it. He gave everything he had for that. So what would that be likened to us? Or how would it be compared with us today? Or a person, not necessarily even us. Think as far as worldwide, how is that?
Jesus said, deny yourself, take up your cross, follow me.
It's something you follow, you come across and you find, right? It's not something that maybe I wasn't necessarily looking for. If you look out in the world, it's not necessarily somebody that's looking to be in the church, but happens to stumble across it and say, hey, you know, what have I found here? This is something, and what do I need to do for it? You know, is it something I just have to, I can do haphazardly? It's something I give my all into once I understand what it is. All right. You know, I should put marks on things. All right. How is the church today likened to that treasure? The bad part is Eric answered it just a second ago. I'll go ahead and ask the question as it's on the card.
Give all.
Give it everything you got. You know, to me, it's not necessarily monetary. You should do it like you do everything else. If you're willing to go out here and do a job 100%, do you come in here and do 100% or do you just do 50? Or you do 30? It should be everything you're willing to do outside, you should be willing to do inside. So it should be everything that we've got is what we're gonna bring to the table. All right? Let's see, Matthew 13:46. I'm gonna read that. I'll change it up a little bit. Then I'll ask the question. I don't want to do a lot. Matthew 13:46.
I'm trying not to turn my card over till we answer it.
Oh. So now I'm gonna have to mix them up like I did with the kids.
No,
Because they get where they had them memorized.
I'm not turning it over until you answer it, so I can try to see if
And I'd rattle them off and then they would answer before I even started rattling, so I had to change that up. It's amazing, the memory.
Who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Can't read.
All right, what was the cost of that pearl? All he had. So these are two parallel, basically, not parallel accounts, but parallel meanings, with a parallel but different. In this one, what was he doing? What was the guy actually doing? In order to find something, what do you have to be? What? He was seeking, he was looking for it. Do we have people today that are looking? I think we do. You run into people and they start talking. A lot of times, if you can get them talking, they'll go on. But in this country, I do believe it's a little bit harder because we kind of have basically everything we want. But I do think the lockdown changed a little bit of that too, and people's attitudes towards things. Let's see here. What was the price of this pearl? What was he seeking? Well, never mind. I answered the question. Because I did it back. I asked the question backwards on top of that, so that didn't help. So I answered the question for you. He was seeking a pearl of great price. So he was looking for something of a lot of value. How is the church likened to that? What Eric answered it a minute ago. What did Christ do for the church?
He gave it all.
He gave everything for it, right? So what's that pearl?
Everything.
The church. It is the body that he died for that. Okay. Week 3. Somebody want to read Matthew 21, 33 and 33 through 36, please.
Here another parable, there was a certain landowner who planted a vineyard and set a hedge around it, dug a wine press and it built a tower. He used it to vine dressers and went into a far country. Now when vintage time drew near, he sent his servants to the vine dressers, they might receive its fruit. And the vine dressers took his servants, ate one, filled one, and stowed another. Again he sent other servants more than the first, and they did likewise to them.
No, that's good. We'll stop there for now. What is a husbandman?
We would call it like a horticulturist today, probably. Someone that works with plants or flowers or farmer. Thank you. Shut up.
See, Mark had it down here.
Cheap looking at the answer.
Well, he is not cheating, he's using his resources.
Resources, there you go.
You know, that's what the kids tell you today. You go home and ask them a question and look at their phone out and they Google it. And you're like, you know, how long it took me to think of that question? Well, I use my phone. Okay, Madison. That's a farmer, but and in there, in parentheses, it had farmer of grapes, so she is right on horticulture. So it's somebody that works with plants. But what was their job?
Keep them alive.
Huh?
Keep the plants alive.
Keep the plants alive. Tend to the
To the fruit, make sure.
tend to the fruit. I'm trying to think of the name of them. Vineyards.
Yeah.
So I had to think a minute. Brain went into overdrive. But they were to take care of the vineyard and make sure that everything grew and was raised right. Okay. What had this guy done? The owner. What had he done?
He rented it out.
He rented it out. But before he did that, he had everything set up right. He went out and he set everything up in the way it was supposed to be done. What had been done for the Jews? What had God done for the Jews? He had set it up right, left it in their care. Okay. Who had the owner left in charge of this vineyard? What?
Vine dressers.
Vine dressers, husband? Okay. So these guys are in charge of the crop, basically, is what it really amounts to. They're taking care of everything. They bring in the crop. It came the season, and what did the landowner do?
Someone to check on things.
Send someone in? Well, when you lease something out, what do you do if you're the owner?
You get a portion of it.
You get a portion of it, right? Well, come fall of the year, the crop share, you want your cut, right? I mean, I haven't seen anybody yet that didn't want their cut at least, if not at first, or close to first. But, you know, so he sends his hired men, basically, his servants, over to collect. What'd they do to him?
Beat them and kill them. Beat one, kill one, stone the other one.
Okay, we'll stop there for a second. We'll think about this. What have the Jews done to all the prophets and things that God had sent them?
Persecuted them.
Okay. Think how hard this hit home. If they actually thought about what was going on as Jesus is telling this account, and if they stop and thought about that for a minute, you know, wouldn't it have made your mind roll and think a little bit? All right. So they stoned them, they beat them, and they killed some. And then the owner, card 17, who did he send it last? Verse 37, what's that say?
It's in his son. The last of all, he sent unto them his son, saying, they will reverence my son.
New King James says respect.
Respect, reverence. And you're gonna have a,
Is that why they call some preachers reverends? Because they, I don't know. No,
You need to carry a shotgun though.
what?
carry a shotgun.
I get to carry a shotgun?
I guess.
I'd be Eric's job, I'm not gonna, I don't do any, I'm just a little guy on the totem pole. Yeah, that'd be kind of, I don't know.
I don't know,
I'm
I
assuming
just wondered that from that word, if that's what
Well,
they call,
the way they line things up,
because they call them pastors and then reverends.
yeah. I don't know, I have to Google it for the 100% sure, but I haven't looked at that, I guess.
Do you know the answer?
It doesn't matter, I just.
Well, I want to say something, but I'm just not gonna be cynical, so. Because it's in my head, but I'm just not gonna. No, and it's not mean towards you. I was
No,
thinking towards Eric is actually who I was gonna aim at.
I didn't think it was. Just think, because we respect, so.
It's a respecting issue, and God, with Christ saying this, there's disrespect that the Jews showed towards God, and the fact that they had everything set up for them was, the slight or the downput to what he's saying here. They didn't even recognize his son.
This says it is used as a title of respect, applied or prefix to the name of a member.
What did they do to him? Verse 39.
They cast him out and killed him.
Okay, and in the Old Testament, when the Jews cast somebody out, what did that mean?
Good, come back.
I'm gonna be sitting down with you guys, but don't move that. That was close. The knee will go sideways for a little bit before it stops. So when you step on the side of your ankle and things kind of roll. Being cast out was being disrespected. And if you were unclean, they were looked down upon. And the son would be cast out. What they don't, kind of signifying what Christ had done, they would do to Christ eventually. All right. What's a punishment for the way they acted? Card 19, it's verse 41.
Will be destroyed.
They'll be destroyed, right? What happens if we're not in the church?
Will be destroyed.
We'll be destroyed. It's simple. It's simply put, but yet easily overlooked. Because everybody wants the nice and shiny. They don't want to think about reaction or the, can't say what, consequences of their actions. There it is. That's what I was wanting. It was in my head, it wouldn't come out. It's like everything else in there that nothing wants to come out. Card 20 says meaning of this. With the destruction, what's that? What's God doing basically? What happened at the beginning of the New Testament? What happened? What happened to the Jews?
They were cast out.
They were cast out. It was given to somebody else, right? The Gentiles now can come in. It was done away with. Just being a Jew got you in. That is no longer in effect.
It's given to everyone.
Now it's opened up to everyone. And that's what it's stating there, is what would happen. All right. Now we're going to jump over to a little bit different parable. We're going to go Luke 14, 18 through 20. I have to read things or I forget where I'm at. Or at least it's right in my head at that point.
18 through 20.
14, 18 through 20, yes.
But they all with one accord began to make excuses. The first said to him, I have bought a piece of ground and I must go and see it. I ask you to have me excused. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen and I am going to test them. I ask you to have me excused. Still another said, I have married a wife and therefore I cannot come.
Okay, that's kind of the predecessor to what's about to happen here. But that's the meat of the parable on what was supposed to take place.
There was a great supper and he invited people and they gave excuses why they couldn't come.
Do we see that today?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sad part, but you think about it, do we see it today? Oh yeah, we see it today. I mean, I'm probably not as good, or I'm just as bad as anybody else on that stuff, because my wife will say, well, we're supposed to do this tonight. My eyes get great big and I'm like, I think I'm supposed to do something somewhere else tonight. And then it goes downhill right after the procession. But, we've all given an excuse why we couldn't do something. I don't care who you are. There's gonna be something that, well, I just couldn't do it, sorry. But here, what were the excuses?
One was, got married.
One got married,
One bought some land.
one bought some land,
Got oxen.
and the other bought oxen. Okay,
So who was the certain man? I mean,
It's God.
One guy's wife, she wouldn't let him go.
well,
I mean, you know.
I honestly had it better than that for that, but I wasn't want to say it yet. You know, the one guy went to his own funeral, he just doesn't know it.
I mean, you know, if you're a popular person and you get invited to all these things, you may not want to go to everything.
Well, I'm not a popular person, so nobody invites me.
So if somebody invites you, you better go.
Exactly.
You might not get one.
I'm pretty smart. See, they invite me, they say food on there.
Free food.
Free food, I'm on the doorstep, let's go.
So I mean, who's the certain man?
The certain man, he's just using it as like a noble. I don't really think it, I mean, like Eric said, it represents God. It's who it represents. But to them, I'm thinking he was just, and this is just me. If I'm telling you a story and I just start out by a certain man, what I'm saying is hey, this guy had some authority or some,
So it's probably of great importance.
Yeah. it's something that's great importance. It's something you need to show up for. So, you know, it'd be like you going to a retirement party, you know?
Right.
You made it that far. Ron didn't need to run over by the cow, so it's all good. But it's something that is, it needs to be looked at or done something with, and yet, as far as putting God first, the buying of the field, the 10 oxen and the married wife, if you look at it and the importance of that, to say, in today's standards, the president invited you to eat. You know, how many of them are we gonna look at, or if it's something we wanna go to, are we not gonna show up? You know, if it's something important, generally we'll show up. But here, they looked at it like, you know, that's no big, you know, I'm not gonna put any importance on it. I just bought land and I needed to look at it. How many of us have bought land that hasn't been looking?
What are you ready to say? She'll look at it first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's-
You make sure it hadn't changed since you bought it or what?
Yeah, well, and, okay, on top of that, how many people today go out and buy a car? Do we just go out and buy that car, write a check, and it'll be delivered tomorrow? I mean, some people are into that, but I'm still old school enough, I wanna go driving around for a little bit, let's make sure she's
I
100%.
wanna hear that start, I wanna, yeah.
The whole thing, I wanna check it out. So, the land we're gonna look at, the oxen, wouldn't you have tested them out before you bought them? And the wife, she said no, which is a good thing. I could get in trouble. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. But, you know, you're gonna be with her the rest of your life, so you should be good. And are all these good enough excuses to say we're not gonna go to church today? I mean, you come down to it, you apply it to the day. You know, none of these are good enough excuse for me to not show up.
Well, I mean, in general, it's talking about the kingdom of God, it's talking about the church. So it's the certain man's God, the church, the feast represents the church. And many people want to make excuses why they don't need to become a Christian. Well, I'll put it off till later, I can do, you know, this and that. So they're saying, I don't want to be a part of the feast, which is the church. So.
And the bad part is that I can't say anything I want to say because it's on my next part. So I'll be jumping ahead like normal to put in there what I want to say.
So this doesn't even compare to things that we're invited to today. I mean, as the President Biden invited me to come to the White House, I wouldn't want to go. You know?
I've been free food.
Ron's there. He's gone. Kevin's still sitting on the curb.
Pay for it.
But I mean, if God invited me, I mean, that'd be a whole different scenario.
Blueberry pie there or something.
But I mean, you know, what I'm saying is, this doesn't pertain to what we were invited to in today's world.
Not in the,
That's simple. If we put it in today, something we divided, let's put it in real simple terms.
Yeah.
This is kind of this is more symbolic.
Well,
Yeah.
using the example of Biden or, something important, it's just an illustration upon illustration. The
Yeah.
point is the fact that the church is the feast. So if you relate it to the day, you try to invite someone to become a Christian and you sit down and study, come to church, and they say, well, I got this going on, or I got this going on. That's the same thing. It's making excuses, because he's telling them, the kingdom's here, it's coming. And you can be a part of it, but they're making excuses why they don't want to. And so that's how it relates to us.
See how many people today that say they don't want to just go to church? They'll be tomorrow. And the scary part is as we read down through here, you don't necessarily, are you guaranteed tomorrow?
Tomorrow might never come.
True, because I'll get into that later. All right. Who was invited later? After these guys failed, who was invited later?
Four on the street. Yeah, 4 people.
Everybody else, right?
Gentiles.
That's what it's showing. It's showing that it's going to be opened up because the others refused. They didn't want to take that opportunity. All right. Card 23, meaning of the parable. And I think we've answered that, but only those who come when invited will be in the kingdom. You've got to take that opportunity. All right, now we're going to get into it on card 24. What did the rich man do? Luke 12, 18 and 19.
So bigger barn.
Yeah.
Had to have a bigger barn, right? What? With that, what did he put his love in? Or what did he put his trust in?
Earthly things.
Money. Because you think about it, you store up a crop, what are you doing? I know what I've been doing, but what are you doing? Say, I got a bin of corn out there right now, what's it doing?
You're waiting for
What's
something.
the price?
I'm waiting for that money to go up. So technically, I'm sitting on a piggy bank. Well, it can be a piggy bank or it can be a tank, one of the two.
Yeah.
But if the market does what the market usually does, it'll go up and down, and I'm gonna try to catch it and sell it on a high. So if I tear down a bin and put up a brand new bin, I've made more space for myself, I've got a lot more piggy bank. Card 25, what does this rich man plan to do? What do you want?
To keep everything for himself.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was he acting like? Who was the most important thing to him?
Yeah.
Himself, right? He'd done it all himself. All right. What happened in verse 20?
God called him a fool.
He died.
He died. There we go. I said, I wrote something different, but yeah, I know we're gonna get to that one too. But yeah, he's a fool. And that was the end of it, right there. Because he valued everything on this earth at a higher value than God. So, where do we put our heart? Where should we put our, I'm not gonna say where do we put our heart, where should we put our heart?
With God.
With God, right? He's the one that's in control of everything, right? All right. What did the rich man call him?
Fool.
There you go. And those that lay up earthly treasures, those that just want to have theirs, what are they? They're the same thing, right?
Fools.
They're fools also. Because everything that they're chasing is of this world, earthly. We're not gonna make it far through everything. Weak S, which I assume is a 5, it's my scribble. It's gonna be Matthew 18:22.
Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee, until 70 times 7.
Okay. How often are we to forgive?
Every time.
every time.
Thanks.
And 70 times 7, infinity number, doesn't matter what we want really on that front. In the Old Testament, you know, the way he's asking this is, you know, if I've forgiven somebody 3 times, that's enough for me. I don't have to do it anymore. You know, self-justification, you know, can I be mad at this person and not forgive him anymore just because I feel like it's the right thing to do? We should look at it and say, you know, that person messed up. I understand that. I'll forgive him. We may not necessarily put ourselves out the same way we did the first time that we had to, you know, forgive. But, you know, we have to have that forgiving heart. Card 30, what is it? How is the church like this king? It's gonna be 18:23 through 35 is where it's gonna be at. But we'll just go through it real quick. I'll let you guys just read that to yourself and then answer. What did the king do?
We forgave him of his.
He forgave him of his money he owed him, right? How much money was that? Card 31.
10,000.
10,000 talents. That's a number big enough that you can't touch it. You're not gonna be able to pay that back off. So we think about it today, it's in a number big enough we can't, but yet he was forgiven. So I'm out of time, guys. Thank you for your comments. I didn't get done.
Just getting exciting.
I don't know.
Ron's gonna go and check his mailbox for that invite to the White House.
He's
You
probably gonna
already got it, I see.